I guess I'm live now. So, boom. Hey, everybody. It is Lewis Porter Jr. I'm here live to you in sunny South Florida. Eyelash and my glasses. And of course, it is Wednesday, halfway through the week. Booyaka. Booyasha. Booshaka. I mean, whatever you want to say. Booyah. We're somewhat halfway through the work week. And even better, next week will be Independence Day here in the U.S. That means mom and apple pie, some hot dogs, some hamburgers. I need to figure out where I'm going to go to get these free things because I don't feel like cooking them. And then I've got to keep my son up late to watch some fireworks. And then, well, he's late to him is 8:30, so let's not kid anybody. So that's what we'll be doing. So today, of course, is Wednesday. Comic Book Wednesday, the day where all the comic books get shipped to the stores and people go and pick them out for their new books. And I decided, hey, I'm going to do something cool. So every Wednesday, we're going to talk something comic book related because, hey, it's Wednesday and it makes a lot of sense. So, the cool thing we'll be talking about today will be artist George Perez, a literal legend in the area of comic book art. I can say one of the greatest artists of the last 40 years of comics. There's very few people who probably had more influence on artists and art in general than Mr. Perez. And it's Perez, not Perez. It's Perez. It's, he is Puerto Rican Perez. It has an accent to it. When I was younger, I used to go Perez. George Perez, it's Perez. A little softer, not so hard. But once again, an awesome artist. I've had the pleasure of meeting him several different times. He lives in Central Florida. I don't know if he still lives there. Last time I knew, he still lived in Central Florida. He came down during the whole big cross-gen movement, getting everybody from everywhere cold, by telling them, hey, would you be interested in leaving your frostbitten place like Pittsburgh or Detroit or Ohio and like to come down to Central Florida to work at our company called CrossGen? And that's what got him down here. So I think he's still down here. I still see him doing a lot of CocoCon, so that's why I assume he's still here. So George Perez is the definition for at least me of what good comic book art should look like and what you can expect from it. I didn't know who he was until I started reading Teen Titans. The new Teen Titans, which is the breakout book that made him the legendary star that he is. Before that, he'd already worked on tons and tons of books. That's another weird thing. If you go back in your history and you look, he was a great artist working for Marvel on a lot of books that I loved before he started working on the books on DC that I love. So it's one of those weird kind of scenarios. He was working on Avengers for a long time. During one of my favorite runs of Avengers, the Korvac saga, he did a lot of the artwork in those books, did a lot of the covers. A lot of the covers have become iconic in Avengers lore. So you a lot of see that kind of stuff. That's kind of cool. So if you are a big fan of comic book art and a big fan of covers, check out his run. It's in the 170s of the first edition of Avengers. Yeah, it goes 167 to 177 was the Korvac saga, or that time period. But see, look at that. Book's 20-something years old. I'm still catching this. Hey, Larry, what's going on? Perez's work is amazing. If you like art in general, it's a good thing to pick up. But like I said, I picked it up when he was doing New Teen Titans. And I picked it up a couple, like 4 or 5 issues in before, the Terminator, Deathstroke, aka the Terminator, was created. And it's funny, back then, we used to call him the Terminator until the movie came out, and then we just kept calling him Deathstroke. Because the Terminator meant something else, as we all know. But I think George Perez's art, visually, is very, I'd say, kind of reminiscent of Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, another well-known, respected artist. The man who is well-known to be Mr. Perfect Proportions. If you ever get a chance, there's an old school DC style guide and all the pictures of all the heroes and how they should be drawn, how they should look. This is a style guide they give out to, I guess, third-party vendors looking to do material for them and how things should look and stuff like that. Let me tell you, he's the guy who did all the artwork in it. And his artwork is amazing. I mean, his is just fundamentally, and I think this is like, it's in the early 80s when I first saw this thing. I think they still made it. I think you can find it some places online. You got to look for it. But it is amazing. It's a DC style guide. It is amazing, the artwork in there. And Perez seems to be another one of those from that time period where you see this amazing level of art. So Perez's run also on Teen Titans is legendary because of, the Judas contract. If you're not familiar with the Judas contract, I guess I'll be spoiling some of it here, so just realize I'm going to be spoiling it. Probably one of the best Titan stories ever written, with such a simple idea and brilliantly executed by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. Perez. It's a great premise, and what makes it even funnier is if you know behind the scenes stuff. So at this time period we're talking about, New Teen Titans is pretty popular, and the X-Men are just starting their rocketing to their greatness moment. So the X-Men introduced this young girl on their team, Kitty Pryde. And Kitty Pryde gets introduced to the team, and we all know what happens to Kitty Pryde, leading up to the whole death of Jean Grey and the whole thing. But like, this character was becoming the useful character that we connect to on that. DC also ordered the guys over at Titans to do the same thing for them, build a young female character, and let's kind of get on that same kind of vibe. So they built a character by the name of Terra. Terra was a very unusual character in the sense of her brother, Brian, was a well-known character named Geoforce, and was doing very, very well on Batman and the Outsiders, another great book. Such a good book. And so they introduced her in them, and at first we weren't sure if she was a villain or a hero, and then we added her to the team as a hero. And then what made the run so awesome is that you find out about halfway into, you always figure there's some kind of problems, but you're always kind of like, she's got these kind of problems. Like, it's kind of, she can be a little, You find out later she's a plant. 100% plant by Deathstroke the Terminator, to find out all the identities of all the Titans, to basically turn them over to this group called Hive. A hierarchy for, I can't remember what Hive's initials are for, but whatever. So she was going to be there to focus on that. And during this process, she learns everybody's ID, including Dick Grayson, who is, Batman's ward, and, Deathstroke. And if you don't know much about the character of Deathstroke, let me actually put that in a little context real quick. Deathstroke is DC's version of Captain America if he's a bad guy. Super soldier, got his cool powers, has one eye. His wife shot out his other eye. That's another cool part of the story. And, it's Cap. It's Captain America if he was a mercenary. And it's awesome because, he's incredibly dangerous. I mean, the guy's like as strong as Cap. He's Cap. He's Cap. I can't really get it more detailed than that. He really is Captain America, just as a mercenary and a violent guy. And it works really well when you see him. It's like he is the epitome of, I got these powers. It's like all this cool stuff. I don't have any super flashy powers, but the powers I have are pretty devastating. So it's a lot of great stuff like that. So he finds out Dick Grayson's identity, finds out everybody's identity, and Perez's artwork during this time is just getting better and better and better. And this is kind of a setup. Obviously, this is the setup for his next book, which is going to be probably his magnum opus, bar none. So all the work he does on Teen Titans is great. Judas Contract, if you can find the trade paperback, I suggest just getting it. Don't even think about it. Just like, okay, I'll grab it. You're going to love it because the setup is there and the payoff is there. And I don't want to kind of ruin what the payoff is and how the whole thing goes down, but it's like, it's a great storytelling experience. And artistically speaking, it's just amazing. I mean, Perez gets the redesign from when Dick Grayson stops being Robin and he becomes Nightwing. Now, I'm not going to lie. The first costume version of it is a very, very George Perez kind of costume. If you know what that means, George Perez has a very beautiful style of art, but his costuming was always to the extreme of that's kind of crazy. If you want to see two prime examples, which is kind of weird, but it's kind of funny. He did created both characters, Deathstroke and the Taskmaster from the Marvel Universe. You know, the Avengers villain, you know, photographic reflexes, great power to have. Still, if I didn't have powers in a world with people with powers, that's the one I would pick. If you did not know that. Photographic reflexes, yeah, I'd run all day with that one. Good Lord. That would be my favorite. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So you've got this guy whose design ethic is involved in his costumes, and you can see on the original Nightwing. It's one of those costumes that when I'm sure other artists saw it were like, oh God, I hate drawing it because there's so much detail to it. And you don't want to kind of back yourself into a corner of, let me do a lot of detail on stuff all the time. Anybody will tell you, oh, that's a horrible idea. You're not going to like that. So quite the opposite. So Perez is just one of those artists that, a big lizard came out of a hole. Is just one of those artists that does amazing work. And he's known for jamming a lot of people in his pages or panels that are still kind of, you know, pretty impressive. I think it's still pretty impressive, because I mean, how do you get all those people in one panel? You know, he's good for that. What can I say? And so Titans is very much where he gets to show you his skill level and his ability and his just out and out ability to tell a story with pictures. And that is a skill that a lot of people don't get. A lot of good artists don't understand that. And I think that he is one that has not just focused on that, but has mastered that in the best way possible. Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's true. You know, he's got it down to an awesome science. And then after doing work on Titans, he goes and does probably his most visual, most well-known, probably most respected work he does. He does Crisis on Infinite Earths, also with Marv Wolfman. And, you know, it's very much the Marv Wolfman, George Perez team that just makes the stuff they do amazing. And it's just, Crisis on Infinite Earth is such a powerfully amazing piece of fiction from a writing perspective. It's one of my favorite reads. I got a copy on my bookshelf, of course. But just looking at the art that you see there, there's some iconic pictures that have been copied and done over. I mean, let's be honest, you know, Crisis cover number 7. If you don't know what that is, I don't know who you are. I mean, that'd be crazy if you didn't know who it was. But the cover is Superman holding Supergirl. And it's basically the death of Supergirl. And it's like, it's an amazing cover. But especially when you see what goes on inside the book, it's just an amazing cover. And, you know, it's one of those moments of visually you get to see them raise the stakes about how dangerous this whole thing's going to be. And it just was good. It was just such a good... And I remember I picked it up from the shelves as a young kid, so I loved it that way. And then seeing it reprinted was even better than seeing the extended version with all the extra art and stuff like that. It's an amazing source of artistic mastery. And, you know, it's just somebody who understands that, you know, covers help sell books. And he focused on doing awesome covers. I mean, that cover was really good. Number 8, the following one, you know, Final Fate of the Flash. It's a great cover. You kill Barry Allen in one of the most interesting ways, and guys who spun off to what they wrote about, I thought was still brilliant. You know, very much, you know, Barry becomes the lightning bolt that actually hits him and stuff, and it's this whole circular. And I thought it was kind of a brilliant idea. And it's, well, people added on to that later, but it's like, that's kind of cool. And even the setup for it. If you read issue number 1, you find out Barry's fate there, but you don't know what's going on. And then when you see the resolve in issue 8, it's like, oh, look at all that setup, and now here's the resolve of it. And it was very smart, very, just so smart. So smart, just so smart. And, you know, smart book, beautifully done, by somebody who just loves doing beautiful things. I think, you know, I can't talk about how much more I love this guy's artwork. I think he understands how to make a complex page. And if you want to see a great example of what a complex page from Perez is, and it's like amazing that he did it, look at the cover for Crisis number 12. There's like 30 people in that shot. 30 people. And not just like 30 randos that you don't know who they are. 30 people who you can identify easily by costume. It's like, oh, okay, here's such and such. There's that going on. There's issue like number 9, with the cover of all the villains. It's just a cornucopia. Like, look at all these cool villains. Like another part of his skill. Like, he did the Avengers 30th anniversary poster. It's one of my favorite posters. I'm an Avengers fan, always have been, always will be. What makes the poster so amazingly cool, if you're a real hardcore fan, this is where it's like, wow. So the initial picture has all the members of that point. They're all there. They're doing their stuff. He's got them in the right costumes. Everything's great. But on the border, it's the Wasp flying across the border of the actual poster. And each little individual Wasp is in a different costume. Now, if you're a fan like me, you know, during his run of Avengers, he consistently kept changing the Wasp costume over and over and just changed it. He just changed it whatever he wanted. He didn't even, and some of the costumes were amazing. Some have kept, some have just, been over time. It's like there's none of this, oh, I'm going to wear this costume like this forever. She's like, Janet Van Dyne was supposed to be this heiress with money, very, very flashy, fashionable. So of course she changed her costume all the time. So just an amazing done work. I'm just, it's. I used to have the poster when I was younger. I don't even know if it's still even in rotation anymore. But it's like one of those posters that just understanding how to put together a piece with so many people, and we're talking about what at that point, maybe 50 Avengers, 50, almost 60 Avengers at that point. So yeah, I just love his artwork. I think he storytells better than most, and he storytells in a way, good lord, there's a lot of big lizards out today. I mean, okay, so I say big lizards, that lizard's maybe like 10 inches long. That's not a real big lizard, but that's big enough to go, oh. So relax. When I say big lizard, if you hear me go, whoo, that's a huge lizard. That's like at least a foot long, including the tail, of course. But I digress. So yeah, I think his artwork is a great starting point for people who want to understand art, want to understand how to put together covers that help sell. I mean, that's something I think I've said enough times that I think I'll keep saying it. If you don't understand what takes good art direction, and you think you have good art direction, and let me tell you, a lot of you think you know what good art direction is. A lot of you just are garbage. I saw somebody put out a thing recently, and it was very much the sense of what a wasted opportunity is a cover. I said it before and I'll say it again. The important thing about when you're doing a cover is for someone to pick up the thing and say, what's that guy's story? That's that's when you know that you've gotten something interesting. Because you see most people just make a cover, there's something going on, whatever. But the cover, and some people do covers of action. I'll give you a great example. My buddies over at Esper Genesis did a really great cover. It's basically these three guys in power armor. It's a sci-fi one. And they're fighting this big aboleth. Now, they say it's an aboleth. To me, it looked like a little more alien influence, maybe a little predator influence, sci-fi aboleth. But it was very cool. The picture was great. The creature was attacking. It was huge and big. And these guys are and it played off that whole, oh my God. And to me, I never understand why people can't do that. It's such a simple, easy idea. When you open the book or even see the book, you should say, oh my God, because that's what helps sell the book. Marvel used to be good at that. They stopped doing it. I mean, basically what happened is the covers became posters. And they never became like, what was the story about? It was like, like Amazing Spider-Man was a prime example of that. Amazing Spider-Man's covers were just, look at this cool cover. And done by another artist that I'm actually going to be seeing in less than a month, Mark Bagley, another favorite of mine. They looked like what they're supposed to be, posters. These would wind up as posters somewhere, and that's what they were. But I think covers and posters are two different things. I think a good cover can become a poster, but I don't think you start as a poster in mind for a book cover, but you're looking to sell the book. There has to be something that people pick up and get attached to and are interested in and find interesting. So I think that's a kind of interesting way to go about it. I think it can get interesting and also can have some very cool dynamics put together. But most people, they don't do that. They put something together quick. They go, oh yeah, we'll just do this, like this, and people will love it. It's like, no man, take a time out. Take a look at professionals who do covers. Go look at Pinterest and type in George Perez covers, and you'll see like all the covers he's done, and there'll be some other stuff. But you can look at the covers he's done and what they accentuate about his style, what they focus on is creativity. It's just amazing to me to see that level of detail and work and what you can get from it. And that's another thing too. Don't ever think that you can't look at someone's cover and go, oh my God, that's amazing work, and feel like, okay, well, I can never be as good as him. That's not the point. He's supposed to be a great artist. That's his job. That's his thing. You as a smart publisher, you as a smart developer, you as even a smart freelance writer should go out and be like, oh, okay, this is the cover I like. It's giving me the influence to write the thing that I'm doing. Because art definitely carries the story in most things. Yes, books are great. They're great. But, once you draw something, picture worth being worth 1,000 words definitely has, defined it perfectly. And a good piece of art, especially by someone who's good at it, with great technical skills, you can see some amazing things that you didn't see before. And I think that in itself is huge. That is a moment that you can look at the project and find a way that you can incorporate what's going on this cover, whatever the cover might be, into your own personal works. I tell everybody all the time, I don't waste time, trying to set up a picture of this thing and that thing, and because the way you describe it probably won't be as fundamentally great to an artist as showing them a picture. Like for the last one we just did for Wrath of the Gatekeeper, I showed the guy the image I wanted. I showed why the context mattered. I showed why this thing mattered. He saw it, he ate it up, he loved it, he did it. Now, some people are saying, well, you're copying what someone else is doing. Isn't that copying? Well, technically, artists say it's paying homage. I would consider it paying homage. We did a cover for, did a chapter opener for New Exodus that was a straight-out homage to X-Men 141. It's a whole wanted poster behind, people slaying, we did that. We did that picture. I love that picture. I've always wanted to do a picture like that in anything I've ever done. So we finally did it with an artist whose artwork was perfect for what we wanted. Got bit by a bug or something. And it came off perfect. But once again, would it have been as cool? Would it have been as cool if somebody else had done it? I don't know. I mean, it's a great cover. It makes great art. And that's kind of what the focus is. So I guess you'll be seeing more of that kind of stuff. Like right now, I'm still trying to work on the final image for Wrath of the Gatekeepers and getting the right one. Initially, I had an image that I liked, but now I don't like it anymore. So now I'm going to be going through tons of artwork, figuring out what piece of art might be better for this. This is the part I always hate. You got to go, finding a piece of art is one thing, but then refinding something new, and you've already got the other ones, is tough. So we'll see what goes on. We'll see what I can put together. I'm assuming it'll be awesome, whatever it is. You just got to put it together. Yeah. So check out George Price's artwork if you haven't seen it before. There's tons of stuff about him. If you want to find some more stuff, I'd say go to YouTube, type his name in, and just listen to some of the videos of people talking about him. I think for those who are in the creative field like us, I think it's just great knowledge to have and help you better understand working with artists. I think I've told a friend this before, but just again to put in perspective. I took a class on drawing. Now, I can't draw. Yes, I'm a graphic designer, but I can't draw. I'm very used to that. Not a big deal, not a big surprise. But I took a class on drawing. And what it did for me is help me understand what my artists go through when they were drawing. And I think the piece was awesome. I think it was helpful, and it was very informative. I did it at community college, local community college. And this is years ago, but it was worth it, It was like $60, $80, nothing major, but it helped me understand artists better. And I think in the long run, they helped me with other artists doing their work. So I think that's important. Getting people, helping people understand what you want by speaking their language. I think it shows that you care about what they're doing, and even better, you're willing to spend money to learn what they do because you think it's important. And I think they appreciate that. I think anybody smart would appreciate it. I mean, that's just my thought process. So this all ties back into, doing good art, looking at artists that are amazing. And that's a cool thing. There's so many great artists out there to look at. Just check out some you like. So I'm almost done my walk. I'm thinking maybe next week we'll talk about John Byrne, since he's, like I said, probably another massively influential artist. I thought about doing Jim Lee, but I think I'm going to go to the classic guys first. Some people are like, what do you mean Jim Lee's not classic? Yes. Jim Lee is definitely a classic. But I want to talk about guys when they were doing great artwork, when it wasn't like it is, well, it was back then in the 90s, that they made tons and tons of money on stuff. It wasn't always money focused. It was doing cool stuff focused. So I think it'll be kind of cool. We'll talk about that kind of stuff next Wednesday, or I might change up to Jim Lee. You never know. But I'm almost done. But thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. So you all have a good day. Stay out of the heat if you're in Florida, because it is hot out here. I'm like dying of heat. I will talk to you all later.